America isn't collapsing in the sensationalized way Hollywood depicts in its summer blockbusters. There are no smoldering ruins or abandoned ghost town cities. In fact, if you look out your window right now, everything might seem terrifyingly normal. The highways are still choked with commuters. High-end restaurants boast 3-week waiting lists, and your neighbors just posted a curated gallery of photos from their latest European getaway. On the surface, the American machine appears to be humming along. But beneath that glossy, polished exterior, something fundamental is fracturing. On any given night in this country, 771,000 Americans are officially documented as homeless. Millions of senior citizens are standing at pharmacy counters, forced to perform a desperate kind of survival math, literally splitting their life-saving pills in half because they cannot afford both their heart medication and a basic bag of groceries. Insurance conglomerates aren't just raising premiums anymore. They are packing up and abandoning entire states, leaving homeowners defenseless against the next disaster. Families who have played by every rule, working multiple jobs, avoiding consumer debt, and saving every penny they can, are still finding themselves slipping further behind every single December. There's a widening, jagged chasm between how this country is marketed to the world and how it actually feels to survive within its borders. This gap is becoming impossible to ignore, and in 10 specific states, the structural floor is visibly caving in. Some of these locations will shock you, because the places breaking down the fastest aren't the poor states you've been conditioned to pity. They're the economic engines of the world. Welcome to Homeless U.S. News. Today, we are counting down the 10 states where the American dream is becoming a mathematical impossibility. If you're tired of the everything is fine narrative and want the raw, unvarnished truth, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on all notifications. Let's get into the numbers. Part 1. The exhaustion of the powerhouses, Illinois and Arizona. Number 10. Illinois. If you were tasked with designing a state that should be immune to a middle-class collapse, you'd likely pick Illinois. It possesses every hallmark of stability. The dominant global hub of Chicago, elite research universities, world-class transportation infrastructure, and a massive, diverse industrial base. Chicago is a planetary economic powerhouse, a titan of finance, healthcare, technology, and logistics. It represents the very blueprint of 20th century American prosperity. So why is there a silent exodus? The answer lies in the treadmill. Families aren't fleeing Illinois because of a singular, sudden disaster. They're doing the math at their kitchen tables and realizing that a stable life no longer adds up. Property taxes crept up incrementally, then the heating bill doubled, then car insurance spiked, and suddenly, a hard-earned yearly raise was entirely consumed by a health insurance premium hike. Stacked together, year after year, the foundation simply gave way. Here is the data point that should stop you cold. Illinois now has one of the highest rates of family homelessness in the nation. We aren't talking about people who fell out of society or struggled with addiction. We are talking about working households, people with 2 incomes whose housing costs simply grew at 3 times the speed of their paychecks. This crisis doesn't produce breaking news footage. It just quietly compounds until an entire generation of middle-class families is pushed out the back door of a state that insists everything is perfect. People don't leave Illinois in a fit of rage. They leave because they are physically, mentally, and financially exhausted. Number 9. Arizona. On paper, Arizona is the ultimate success story. New subdivisions are exploding across the Phoenix metro area so fast it makes your head spin. You'll see rows of gleaming 3-car garages, turquoise pools, and emerald green lawns meticulously maintained in the middle of a sun-scorched desert. But that image is increasingly becoming a financial hallucination. Arizona is currently in the midst of aridification, a permanent structural shift in the water supply. Lake Mead recently dropped to its lowest level in recorded history, and while emergency measures provided a temporary recovery, the underground aquifers are being drained at rates that will take thousands of years to refill. When someone buys a $600,000 home in a Phoenix suburb today, they're making a 30-year financial bet on a resource that might be physically gone before the mortgage is fully paid off. The music is still playing, the subdivisions are still being built, but the mathematical bill is already in the mail. Arizona serves as a stark warning. You cannot build a permanent future on a vanishing foundation. Part 2. The Foundation Erosion, West Virginia and Oregon. Number 8. West Virginia. There is a terrifying demographic reality about the mountain state. More people are currently leaving West Virginia every year than are being born in it. This isn't a rough patch or a temporary recession. This is foundation-level erosion. For a century, coal organized life here, providing the backbone of the community. When that industry collapsed, the young people did what young people always do. They followed the opportunity and left. What remains is a population that is aging at a pace that municipal budgets simply cannot survive. A county hospital doesn't cost less to run just because the population dropped by 30%. The fixed costs remain, but the tax base is vanishing into thin air. If you want one image that captures the collapse here, it isn't an abandoned mine. It's the staggering number of grandparents who have become the primary caregivers for their grandchildren. An entire generation of parents was hollowed out by the opioid epidemic and chronic, long-term unemployment. This is a slow-motion demographic collapse that America has chosen to ignore for decades. Number 7. Oregon. Oregon is the ultimate paradox. This is a state that publicly prioritizes human dignity, environmental beauty, and progressive community values. Yet, Oregon currently has the highest rate in the country of homeless families with children living unsheltered. We aren't talking about shelters. We're talking about children living in cars, tents, and coal parking garages. How does this happen in such a caring state? Because good intentions are not a substitute for functional systems. The housing supply in cities like Portland has been throttled for 30 years by restrictive zoning laws and fierce community resistance to density. Rents skyrocketed, but the number of new homes built stayed flat. Walk through Portland today and you'll witness the normalization of misery. You'll see a trendy cafe selling $14 artisan toast on the same sidewalk where a massive encampment of displaced families is huddled. The most unsettling part? The people inside the cafe have stopped reacting to the people on the sidewalk. When a crisis persists long enough, it becomes part of the wallpaper. Oregon is a lesson that caring doesn't solve problems. Only structural work does. Without enough roofs, even the best intentions will still leave children shivering in the rain. Part 3. The Climate Surcharge, Louisiana and Mississippi. Number 6. Louisiana. Most people think climate change looks like a movie, a giant tidal wave crashing into a skyscraper. In Louisiana, it looks like an insurance bill. Environmental agencies project that the state could lose up to 800,000 acres of coastal land within a single lifetime, roughly the size of Rhode Island, dissolving into the Gulf of Mexico. As the wetlands it used to buffer storm surges disappear, the financial math of the state has become unworkable for insurance providers. Major carriers haven't just raised rates, they have completely withdrawn from the market. The result? Ordinary families, whose ancestors have lived in the same parish for 4 or 5 generations, are opening their mail to find annual insurance bills of $18,000 or $20,000. That's often more than the mortgage itself. These people didn't make a risky lifestyle choice. They lived where their culture and community have always been. They are now paying the ultimate price for global shifts they didn't cause, finding themselves climate refugees before the water even reaches their doorstep. Number 5, Mississippi. Imagine being a retired worker in rural Mississippi. Your spouse has a medical emergency in the middle of the night. The paramedics arrive, but then they deliver the devastating news. The nearest hospital with a functioning specialized care unit is 2 hours away on dark, winding rural roads. This is the grim reality of Mississippi's medical desert. This state has the highest rates of chronic illness in the country, yet it is simultaneously losing its rural hospitals at an alarming rate. Why? Because the operating margins are too thin and the number of uninsured patients is too high for the current system to sustain. But here's the kicker. In rural Mississippi, the hospital isn't just where you go for checkup. It is usually the largest employer in the county. When the hospital closes, the jobs vanish, the tax base shrinks, and the remaining population gets poorer and sicker. It's a self-feeding spiral of neglect. While we build AI that can write poetry, we have American citizens terrified of having a heart attack after 5 p.m. because the ER is too far to reach. That is a fundamental failure of priorities. Part 4. The Wealth Trap, Washington and Florida. Number 4. Washington. Seattle on a clear morning looks like the absolute pinnacle of the American economy. You see glass high-rises, $100,000 electric vehicles at every stoplight, and some of the highest tech salaries on earth. The wealth generation is staggering. And yet, directly beneath the highway overpasses, rows of tents have been there so long, they have effectively developed their own neighborhood names. Washington has the second highest chronically homeless population in the country. The reason is a phenomenon known as penthouse economics. When an economy concentrates massive wealth in one specific sector, the cost of everything, housing, food, gas, rises to match those elite salaries. But the bus drivers, teachers, and janitors who keep the city functioning aren't making tech salaries. They get priced out step by step. First out of home ownership, then out of market rate rentals, and eventually out of the city entirely. Washington shows us that an elevator that only goes to the penthouse doesn't serve the rest of the building. The prosperity is real, but it has become a luxury item that half the population can no longer afford. Number 3, Florida. Florida made a specific, long-standing promise to the American middle class. Work hard in the cold north for 40 years, and your reward is a sunny, affordable retirement here. For 2 generations, that was a real, tangible deal. But the terms of that contract have been changed without notice. Florida now has some of the highest home insurance rates in the country, driven by catastrophic storm models and litigation. Some retirees have seen their bills jump from $3,000 to $15,000 in just 3 years. Then came the condo crisis following the tragic Surfside collapse. New laws now require massive structural reserves and inspections for older buildings. Thousands of seniors on fixed incomes are being hit with special assessments for $50,000 or $80,000 due immediately. Florida still looks beautiful in the real estate brochures, but behind the palm trees, a growing number of retirees are realizing the dream is costing them every cent of their safety net. The sun is still shining, but the financial storm has already arrived. Part 5. The distribution failure, New York. Number 2. New York. How can the financial capital of the world, the place where a single day of Wall Street transactions could fund a dozen small nations, also have more than 95,000 homeless children? New York is not a story of poverty in the traditional sense. It is a story of distribution failure. In Manhattan, luxury glass apartments are sold as investment vehicles to global billionaires, often sitting empty for 360 days a year. Meanwhile, just a few blocks away, a mother is trying to get her kids ready for school in a transitional shelter, navigating a complex 3-bus transfer just to maintain some sense of stability. The New York housing market has stopped being about providing shelter. It has become a high-yield financial instrument. When housing is treated as an asset for global capital rather than a place for local workers to live, the city begins to eject the very people who make it function. Teachers, nurses, and transit workers didn't leave New York because they lacked a work ethic. They left because they are being forced to compete in a market where affordability has been defined out of existence. New York proves that a massive GDP is a hollow metric if it can't provide a basic floor for its own children. Part 6. The epicenter, California. Number 1. California. Nowhere in the world looks more like the future than California. It boasts world-class universities, the unparalleled innovation hubs of Silicon Valley, and a state GDP that would make it the 5th largest economy on the planet if it were a sovereign nation. But hold this fact in your mind. California accounts for 44% of the entire chronically homeless population of the United States. Nearly half of the most entrenched, long-term homelessness in the wealthiest country in history is concentrated in this one state. This isn't a measurement error or a stroke of bad luck. It is the predictable result of 30 years of deliberate policy choices. California's major cities haven't built enough housing to meet demand since the 1980s. A combination of zoning laws, environmental red tape, and community opposition has created a permanent, artificial shortage. When housing is this scarce, the pressure moves down the ladder. The middle class can no longer afford to buy, so they take the rentals. The low-income workers get pushed out of the rentals and into their cars. The most vulnerable, those one paycheck away from disaster, end up on the sidewalk. The engineers and executives can absorb any price hike. Everyone else is left fighting for the scraps. The encampments you see in Los Angeles or San Francisco aren't a separate population. They're the far end of a massive economic squeeze affecting everyone outside the top 5%. The California dream is still a powerful brand, but for the people living there, it has become a daily survival calculation. How much longer can I afford to hold on? Outro, the weakening floor. Take a step back and look at these 10 states as a whole. Not one of them has collapsed in the traditional sense. The lights are still on, the supermarkets are full, and the stadiums are packed every Sunday. That is precisely what makes this so dangerous. We are waiting for a cinematic moment of crisis that may never come, because the reality is much quieter and more insidious. The American middle class was never just a number on a tax return. It was a set of conditions, predictability, security, and the reasonable belief that if you worked hard, you wouldn't end up on the street. What these 10 states are showing us is that the floor has been weakening for a long time. In some places, it's the housing market. In others, it's the climate. In others, it's the total concentration of wealth that is displacing ordinary citizens. The question isn't whether this feels familiar to you. It likely does. The question is whether we accept this as just the way it is now, or whether we realize that a country with this much wealth has no excuse for leaving its own people behind. What state are you watching from today? And honestly, does the floor feel solid under your feet right now? Drop a comment below. I read every single one of them, and your story is more important than any sanitized government report. If this deep dive made you see the map differently, please hit that like button. It helps the algorithm push this message to more people who are feeling the squeeze but don't know why. And if you want to keep following the real stories of the housing crisis and giving a voice to those the system has forgotten, hit subscribe to Homeless US News and turn on that notification bell. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, look out for your neighbors, and we'll see you in the next investigation.